Hello, 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 and welcome back to an all-new episode here on the Desensitized channel. As always, my name is Darius Cook, joined as ever by Dan Cast. How you doing, Dan Cast?
Pretty good. Been a while since we've done one of these, but the schedules just haven't quite lined up. But happy to be here, talk about some fun stuff.
Yes, it feels good to be joining you again through the interwaves of the internet. We're united once again with the important task to talk about what's going on this week in anime. So, as such, I have a few updates to give you and just some kind of anime news as of late. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, first off, I just wanted to let you know a new anime I've been watching on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen this out. I didn't even know this was coming out. I just saw that it was on there. I clicked play out of curiosity, and I find myself enjoying it. It's the Tomb Raider anime on Netflix. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of it. I've seen like screenshots, but I don't know. Most of the time when they like do licenses, I just assume it probably won't be too good. So I was waiting around to see if some more opinions on that before I did it. But you're saying it's good?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely like cautious about it originally going into it because, you know, I'm not the biggest Tomb Raider fan, but just looking at the like animation style, it seemed a little lacking, a little cheap, if you will. And so honestly, I was just bored and looking for something to watch, so I decided to press play on it. And I gotta say, it's really grown on me. I just finished it this morning. I plan on doing a solo review on this channel for it, but I gotta say, I actually found myself liking it a lot more than I thought I would.
Interesting.
You,
I just caught up in My Hero, so I definitely need something to watch aside from like the weekly stuff. So maybe I'll put that on my list.
yeah. Well, you're the resident gamer here on the Desensitized podcast. So, have you played have you played Tomb Raider before?
Unfortunately, I have not. I feel
Okay.
like it was like when it was really popular, I was like too young, and then I know they've come out with more recent ones, but honestly, they never really seemed that cool to me. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much missed the boat as a Tomb Raider fan as well. I feel like growing up, I was always aware of it, just
For sure.
around. I've like played like minutes at a time of like I feel like every video game of it, every installment. So I feel very exposed to it. But I can tell throughout the writing of the show, the characters that are involved, it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of fan service throughout all the different characters and lore throughout the series. The show is doing like it seems like it's written in a way where if you're a Tomb Raider fan coming into it, you already know a lot of information and it kind of hits the ground running. It doesn't exclude me as a viewer not knowing the franchise too well, but it feels like there's that I would kind of get a lot more context if I had played the games in the past. So as far as the adaptation goes, it seems pretty strong.
For
The
sure.
only thing that isn't strong is the animation. That is the weakest aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, I like I said, all I saw was like screenshots, so I don't know how it like actually moves around. But um, yeah, honestly, I can imagine that having like maybe not like a super great production team or like that big of a budget. Really, I feel like it could be like one of those things where they just kind of want to put out a product. They know there's kind of an audience for it, and they'll watch it regardless if like the quality is super good.
Yeah, the writing is good. The dialogue isn't always great, but the general writing of the story is pretty good. That being said, the animation feels like Blood of Zeus at its worst, like the worser parts of
Yeah.
Blood of Zeus, but consistently kind of throughout. Now, when there is action, the action is more fluid, and when they're actually like choreographing action sequences, I think that that comes together very well. But the character model seems like something you would see in like 2010. Like it's just very simple.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Honestly, man, it's crazy. Um, like the most random like animes that like I've never heard of, I've never even thought were a thing, have like the craziest animation sometimes, and like
Mm.
the more popular IPs just like consistently drop the ball. It's insane to me because you'd imagine they have a higher budget, but
No, it's weird. In 2024, we're seeing more and more this like big gap between production value of properties. Let's just keep it specifically to the anime space. When, like you said, there will be random shows that you would have never heard of, and you tune in and it has like the most spectacular animation associated to it. But some of the bigger IPs that you think would get a bigger budget end up still lacking. It's like the industry is like still trying to like figure out where it stands with anime becoming more popular and so much more anime being produced that like they haven't figured out budgets and like how long it takes to produce a good product. And of course, we have the extreme great stuff like JJK
For sure.
having amazing animation, making the stuff that would typically feel more mid feel even worse than mid and like feel
Yeah.
like garbage compared to it. So we're in it. We're in an interesting like transition space as the industry tries to like figure out its footing. I feel like.
Yeah, and that like I mean we're seeing it now in Blue Lock, right? I mean it's like what was it the highest selling manga last year or this year or something like that,
In the
and in the
U.S.
U.S. and like and I'm sure in Japan it was still selling really well, but like that's like such an easy success. Like if you just put a little bit of effort into the animation, like the animation wasn't like spectacular in the first season, but it had some pretty great moments. Like, why don't you just like just just give us the same thing, man? Why?
Yeah, yeah. No, let's get into Blue Lock because at the time of this recording, there's been 3 episodes out. Uh, I've talked about it on this podcast before. I loved Blue Lock season 1. When it was coming out, I thought it was the hypest thing around. I couldn't wait for each episode. I was a really big fan. So of course, I was really anticipating season 2 coming out, and I, like many people, have been underwhelmed with the animation. It's actually not animation. It's like 2% animation and everything else percent just images. It's just staging and images. It's like I'm watching like storyboarding of an anime.
Yeah,
It's hard to even call this an anime adaptation. It's just like a coloring of the manga with voice acting behind it, but it's really just staging of different scenes one after another.
yeah, and it's like they put all their budget into like the particle effects and CGI that you see during those still shots,
Hmm.
and like they're cool for sure, but like I don't care if like all I'm seeing is like them standing still, dialogue, and like maybe the ball's the only thing moving in the scene. Like it just I don't know what happened there. Like it just feels just
No, it's egregious. It's actually
yeah,
egregious. It's one thing if half your episode was like this, but watching episode 2 and 3, it was like actually a little hard to get through the episodes when just how much of it is just a picture of a character and their little internal monologue, and then the next picture is you see a foot on a ball. You can just like in manga, you can assume the animation, the action set piece that's kind of happening there, but there's no actual animation happening between the two things. And that's not to take away from the story of Blue Lock, because I gotta say, these few episodes have still got me on the hype train in
for
terms of
sure.
how it's written. I think they do a great job of like still distinguishing different like approaches to playing soccer and like fleshing out the game of soccer in a way that still remains interesting. But just on an animation level, it is so disappointing to watch.
The main thing like for me is like say, you know, if season 1 was the same similar like the same type of animation like whatever, but it's like the very noticeable drop in consistent like it just like it's not consistent at all. Like you have some really great moments in season 1, sometimes the CGI with them running was a little goofy, but whatever. And now it's just like literally a shell of what it was. Like it is not. And like
Hmm.
I keep trying to like cope, and I'm like maybe they're saving all the money for like the last couple episodes, but I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, the energy coming into the season has been low. A, because of the animation, and back in the day, I was a CGI defender for Blue Lock. I didn't mind it so much, but I think all Blue Lock fans would love to go back to the CGI
Yeah,
running
oh for sure.
compared to this. Um, but not only has the animation been disappointing, but narratively, we're moving on to this point where Isagi is surrounded by new characters and new players,
Yeah,
and they're all cool. I think that they're introduced well and their specific like tendencies are well defined so far, but none of them have the same edge of his original group. This group is way more nice than the group that he was dealing with in the
for
past.
sure.
And I think that coupled with the underwhelming animation is creating for a disappointing season so far.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, like the story is still great. Like I was still pretty hype at the end of the last episode, but it's like, man, it just has me thinking like, what could have been, you know, especially like when he scored. You know, the big moments in season one where he scored, like the animation was awesome, like it looked great, but like now it's just like slight movement, and then like
Oh, when he scored, I mean, you see the action, you see him in a kicking pose,
yeah,
and then you see a ball in the back of the net. That's all
yeah,
that you see.
like
You don't even see him take the kick. It's ridiculous.
yeah, and even when they do kind of like the moving parts scenes where he's like analyzing it, like it's literally, it's not even like characters moving at that point. It's like a figurine of the character, and it
Hmm.
moves a certain way. So it's like it's almost
Yeah, it's like a
everything is,
diorama.
yeah, it's like everything is still frame. Like it's like they make the model and then they're like, all right, I'm just gonna move it across here, and then like, oh, it's so fucking
It's like you're
disappointing.
watching a tutorial video or something.
Yeah, like I don't understand what happened. Like, did they change production teams or like what?
It's still the same production team, and I think it's Bandai Namco. I think is the company behind this one. I'd have to get fact checked on that, but uh, one other interesting thing because you touched on this before. I found this out recently. I didn't know this, but Blue Lock season one was wildly popular in the States in America. It was like one of the top anime that came out. But in Japan, it's actually really not popular at all. It gets really bad viewership in Japan.
Really?
So I feel like that might inform
Mm,
why it hasn't come back with such a big budget. I mean, it's a little strange because there was this Blue Lock movie that came out recently that was
for
really well
sure.
received. Maybe that's where all the budget went. They overspent on this movie and then they got scaled back for the season. But I do happen to know that the numbers in Japan are pretty disappointing compared to how America has taken to the series. So I don't know, for one reason or another, they clearly don't have the same budget or team working on it before.
Yeah, and I know a lot of animators and stuff are like they don't always have like full employment at like a said studio. Like a lot of them are like contracted or whatever. So sometimes there's situations where like you have a great set of animators for the first season and then like they're off doing other projects. So now you don't have them. It's kind of like what happened with One Punch season 2. Like I don't think they
True.
had the same animation. What was a different production team, but like still like I don't think they would have had the
That's a
same.
good comparison.
Yeah, like like One Punch season one, like animation was fucking amazing. Like all the fights spectacular, and then same thing with with like Blue Lock. It's like a lot of still frames, not much is moving. I mean, it's still good, but like, how can you can't give us like a taste of like greatness and then just like take it away
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure both of us will continue watching the season, so
for sure.
hopefully we will be back to report that it had a big turnaround and that it blew us all away, but we will see for now. Um, in other news, anime adaptation news, similar to the Tomb Raider anime, I read online today that there's a John Wick anime in production right now. Have you heard about this?
No, I've not heard about that. That's crazy.
On paper, I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually the same team that has been working on all four of the John Wick films is somehow being brought in to work on this one as well. One thing I always appreciate from a John Wick movie is that great action
For
set
sure.
pieces. So, if you have the right team behind it and the right amount of money, I think that this could really work. But it's being planned as a prequel anime film to the John Wick franchise. So I guess it's going to be John Wick, however he got into this business, the early days of that.
Interesting. Yeah, and then I mean, John Wick is like almost entirely action. Like the story and a lot of the dialogue is like whatever, but like the action is spectacular. It's just a fun watch. Um, Hopefully they don't get the same kind of Ninja Kamui
Hmm.
treatment where like everyone knew the plot was probably gonna be horrible, but the action was gonna be fun, and the action was just not fun. It was not good.
Well, well, it's ironic that you say that because this is going to be airing on Adult Swim,
Ah,
which is home to Ninja Kamui, which is also home to Uzumaki, which just aired this anime season as well. Very disappointing as well. In Adult Swim also did that Rick and Morty anime that I think was really terrible. So at this point, I'm not too confident in Adult Swim's specific approach to anime. And you bring up a great point. John Wick is all action. It's you don't go there for the dialogue or the writing,
yeah,
right? So you need a really big budget in order to sustain interest
For
or
sure.
for it to feel like John Wick, to have a lot of action the whole time, right?
Yeah.
That being said, I kind of don't have a lot of faith that this adaptation will go very well, but I suppose we'll see.
Yeah, I don't really either, especially hearing that it's Adult Swim airing it, but here's hoping.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last piece of news I had is another thing on Netflix. There's a Gundam live action adaptation Netflix series that just dropped about a week ago. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's live action Gundam, something we haven't really seen in terms of anime adaptations yet. And it's Gundam, beloved franchise, a franchise I think that you like yourself, if I'm looking behind you right now.
For
And
sure.
so I wanted to know what your thoughts on that are, or are you planning on checking it out?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know about that. I'll definitely check it out. I just one thing I don't understand is how do these animes keep getting live adaptations? Like, they must be so popular in Japan because like they don't seem cool to me. Like, I feel like a lot of stuff and like looks and I don't know moves and abilities like work great in anime, but like when you try and put them in real life situation, like it looks either one goofy or like just comes like a lot of the effects or anything just come out really like lackluster. Like, so I don't know. Apparently, I guess they are popular, but like I've never really watched one because they all look so kind of mid.
It can't ever be a good idea to take something that is a fantasy world through animation and ground it. It's just
Yeah,
it seems just so limiting. Obviously, there's been nothing but terrible anime live action adaptations. We have countless examples to point to, but I think that the One Piece adaptation is the worst thing that ever happened to society because it made so much money that I think production companies are going to think that this is something that we do still want.
for sure.
There is in production a Naruto live action movie franchise that's being built out, actually being directed by Daniel Destin Cretton. He did the Shang-Chi movie, and he's done like Mission Impossible movies, and so that's like a famous action
Yeah.
director that's taking that on. I mean, that maybe sounds interesting, but I think that this Gundam adaptation is just going to be one of many consequences to come out of the live action One Piece adaptation, which I did enjoy, but I don't think that we need these in general.
No, yeah. I mean, just like anime hairstyles in general, like you can't pull them off in real life. Like if you do, you're wearing like a really shitty wig and it's like noticeable, or like their hair is completely CGI'd and everything, which sometimes looks better. Like I've seen people like independent people on TikTok making like small clips of like live action anime look way better than a lot of these shows and movies,
Yeah.
and like they're doing this on their own. So I mean, it can work, but I'm sure it takes a lot of time and money, and that's not something that a lot of them want to do. I think they just think they can make a quick buck on like an established fandom that's gonna check it out anyways. So
Mm.
I don't have too much faith in them, but I'll watch an episode or two, see how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for news. But I want to talk a little bit more about this specific anime season. Uzumaki came out. Did you watch any of Uzumaki? Did you check out episode one?
I saw most of episode one. I just don't have an HBO, so it was kind of like hard. But I did see the uproar in the episodes following, and I believe I don't know who it was on the team even made a statement on it about how pretty much they got screwed over. They didn't get enough funding. They didn't get enough time, so that's why episode one good animation looks great. Episode two and later look horrible. Like
Yeah,
it's terrible.
yeah. I won't get into a full review here. I'm thinking of saving that for a separate video here on the channel. But just to touch on it, the animation is the worst animation of anything I've seen released in the last 10 years. I mean, it's insane. For a brief amount of time, it almost adds to the atmosphere of it, and it doesn't necessarily break it. But then it continues to get like it just gets worse and worse, honestly. And animation aside, there's also just like some writing and just overall how they executed it. It almost started out as best as it was ever going to be, and with each following episode, it diminished. It was law of diminishing returns. With each episode of this series, I found myself enjoying it less and less. Now, if I were to equate it to something like Madam Web, I think in the long term, this will go down in history as something that it's a fun watch in terms of watching bad stuff,
Yeah,
especially if you take the horror space. Watching bad, scary movies is a
for
great
sure.
pastime for spooky season. I think that this will fit firmly in that because it's not unwatchable and it still delivers on some creepiness and horrific visuals that do actually stick with me. So like the concepts that do get across here are still somewhat strong, but in terms of its execution, very disappointing, especially for something that was so overhyped. And you're right; it was the creator of the manga as well, who Junji Ito. He made the public statement that he apologizes for what this product was, and that the production team got screwed over, and so they had to decide over putting out a version of it or just scrapping it all together.
For
So this
sure.
is what we got at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the times it's not even like the fault of like the people working on it. I mean, sometimes it just are situations that are out of their hands. They just don't get enough funding. They don't get enough time. I mean, you see it all the time in the gaming industry. I mean, like a lot of times when a shitty product is put out, it's not necessarily always at fault of the dev team. I mean, it's a lot of times they have stockholders to please. They want to make their money back fast. They don't care about like the longevity of it. All they care about is like seeing their money come back and a little extra on top. So a lot of times they'll push them to be like super anti-consumer or just rushed out. Expecting people to buy a shit ton of it early. They get their money back and they don't care if more people buy it after that. So I mean, it's just something that happens in the entertainment industry as a whole. I feel like I'm sure it happens all the time with movies. I'm just not super plugged into movies, but yeah, it's super unfortunate.
Yeah, it's making me think. We released a video a few weeks ago called "Are We in an Anime Renaissance?" And I was really making an argument that there's so many great properties that are coming out. Um, and I almost want to make an amendment to that statement. I kind of think, yes, we are. Like we're getting some of the best stuff coming out right now, but at the same time, coming with it is a lot of garbage and a lot of stuff that is so hyped up.
For
The
sure.
source material, the manga for it is so strong that we as viewers are very hyped coming into it. And this isn't, it's been a good string of disappointments within the anime space lately as well. So I guess, some high highs and high lows for 2024 anime.
Oh, for sure. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we still have some great stuff coming out this season. I'm not. I mean, Arcane comes out in like what 2 weeks, something like that.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, that's something to look forward to. That's
that's
for
like
sure.
that's gonna. There's just no way that's a flop. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way that's not like one of the best animes of. I mean, not anime, but animated series this year.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we still have that to look forward to for sure. If that's a disappointment, then I don't know what to say.
I've lost faith in everything.
Well, let's talk about something of the anime season that is seemingly starting off on a high note. What are your thoughts so far on Dandadan?
It's great, honestly. I mean, it's not something I would like, tell, a first time anime watcher to watch. It's not. It doesn't really beat the stigma of being a little weird, maybe a little sexual.
Yeah,
Um, but I think if you look past that, it's the animation's been great. I'm invested in the characters. Um, I'm excited to see, you know, the world. Uh, Sometimes the aliens are a little weird, like the latest episode, or not the episode before that where they're fighting that big like sumo wrestler.
hmm
It was a little interesting, but it was still great. That's probably gonna be one of my favorites this season.
yeah. So far, it has so much like electric energy behind it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I made a mistake of showing this one to my fiance. I am desperate to get her to watch any anime with me, And this is like the first time I've ever gotten her to sit down and watch with me because it was on my birthday. Is the only reason I was able to convince her. And I thought, oh, this is supposed to be really popular. I know it has a great budget behind it. The theme song seemed really current and funky. So I was like, this will be a good one to get her in on, and it's very topical and popular.
For sure.
She was out the second that they had the main female character stripping down with those aliens. She was out. She's like, "Why are we watching this? This is exactly what I thought anime was." It confirmed all of her worst fears. And I maybe in another 5 years I'll get her to watch another anime with me. But I think it's shot my chances for now,
For sure.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and like you get hints of it in the trailer that it could be a little like, freaky, but like yeah, someone watching that and they're seeing like a scene of, that girl almost get, assaulted sexually. So it's not great for a first time watcher, but um yeah. But other than that,
Yeah.
great.
Well, and I want to talk more specifically about the substance of the first three episodes and like where I think that the season is going.
Yeah.
But just to take a slight tangent, I mean, this is something that's been on my mind. As anime is becoming more popular to other audiences that aren't just Japanese audience, where the age of consent is 16, and some of these more, weirder, over sexualized moments are more normalized. I think, us Americans or the Western audience doesn't have the same appetite for this type of stuff or isn't willing to accept these weirder aspects to get to the good story of an
For
anime
sure.
like some of us more seasoned anime fans we're used to it, I guess.
Yeah.
um, and I'm hoping that in Japan they start to understand this a little bit and adjust what they're putting out there because it is bumping up. I wouldn't recommend a lot of people to watch Fire Force because of the fan service that's in there. It's egregious, and it's like there's no justification for the level of sexualized scenes that are in there. And Dandadan, it's really a shame because I think that this is going to be an amazing series. I think the bones of it seem really interesting, but it actually limits the amount of people that I can recommend to watch this. And I'm sure your social medias blew up when that first episode came out of people being like, I don't know if this is okay to watch. Like a lot of people are not going to make it past episode one. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, if you've been watching anime for a while, this is just kind of normal for the most part. I mean, you just kind of ignore it. Um, there's people that love that stuff, but um, for me, I'm there for like everything else but that. I mean, I know talked about it before, but like fan service can be kind of tasteful sometimes, if it helps kind of progress the plot, but sometimes, most of the time, like 90% of the time, it's just there just to be horny. Like there's no real point. It's just there, and like sometimes it's like a detriment to the plot. Even like it'll completely ruin like a serious moment, and then you're just like, oh,
Often.
well, now I'm out of it. Now I don't care. Um,
Chainsaw Man is the only anime I can think of, at least in recent years, where the fan service can be considered tasteful, and that's
yeah,
only because like there are characters that are being sexualized and that are in sexual moments, but that is like the point of like
yeah,
seeing Denji like deal with sexuality and like sexuality versus romance and like all those like themes and even like you know I think Denji experiences sexual assault. Like there's like these are things that like add to the character and there are themes within it. They're not just boom, look at this.
yeah,
And,
and
and in the case of Dandadan, it doesn't add anything. You can have this exact scene and communicate the same severity without open legs, underwear, 16-year-old girl, and a lot of the posing that comes in that moment.
for sure. Yeah, and it's like in the case of Chainsaw Man, it's like literally his main motivating factor. So like
Yeah,
that's a situation
it's
where
it's
like
it's all the
completely,
themes.
yeah,
Yeah,
it completely drives the plot. Um, and there was definitely a couple moments in Chainsaw Man where I'm like, man, this scene's going on kind of long, and it's like very crazy. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it sucks
Well,
because
anyways,
yeah, I would
sorry.
no, you're good. I would love to recommend that show, but just because like some of the scenes in it, it's I don't want to look like a fucking weirdo, honestly.
Yeah. Well, let's get back on Dandadan. I want to talk about like where we think the season's going.
for sure.
Just to kick it off, like, how do you feel about Turbo Granny? How do you like her?
How do I like
That demon.
her? uh,
Yeah, I know you're tight, buddy. Yeah.
nah, she's pretty cool. Honestly, I wish she didn't have that hairstyle. It's
Mm.
kind of lame, but no, that's such a dumb nitpick. But she's pretty cool. I want to see like more of what she can do. It seems like she's gonna be kind of like the mentor for at least her
Oh, so
granddaughter.
so I wasn't talking about the grandma. Turbo Granny
Oh,
is what
Turbo
they
Granny, yeah,
refer
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
as the
the
demon
demon, the
that, yeah.
demon. Oh shit, too
Because
much of
from an
like,
animation standpoint, I
yeah,
just think that I think that she looks really interesting. Every time
for
she's on
sure,
screen, we're getting like upside down faces and like arms
for
bending in all
sure.
kinds of
Yeah, yeah,
directions and the
yeah.
teeth and everything.
Yeah,
So I just visually she's a lot of fun.
yeah, visually she's cool. I want to know kind of like the backstory of that and kind of what, like, why did she want to like race people and stuff like that? Like, what's the deal with that? But
Yeah,
yeah, no, she's really cool design. I mean, her design also adds to I forget what the main character's name is, um, but
Psychic Girl,
adds no, the other one, the boy
Okaroon.
Okaroon, really adds to like his design because when he like changes form, he looks fucking awesome. Like probably one of the cooler like main characters slash transformations we've seen this year. But like he looks awesome. I love the design of it.
Are you referring to like when he
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
transform and like actually have control
For
over
sure.
it?
Yeah, like
So interesting.
her design like directly contributes to his because he got like the teeth and everything like that. Um, so it kind of pairs well together, and also like he changes personalities. He's like super depressed out of nowhere. I don't get
Pretty
that, but
interesting.
it's cool,
Yeah.
man. I like it. It's different.
Yeah, I assume they're playing because that was definitely an interesting moment. Like I feel like we're getting a glimpse into like what this character is going to be in terms of his power moving forward in the series. Uh, I assume they're playing with like, once he leans into the demon powers, it kind of corrupts his heart a little bit. It makes him a sad boy, or maybe it's a reflection of his loneliness. I'm not sure, but I love the moment where he just goes, "What a drag," and it just sounds like Shikamaru. It was
Yeah.
a I feel like that was a wink at Shikamaru. I know that this is a show that does a lot of references to other anime and pop culture stuff, so I think that's what it was winking at.
That
Um,
would be cool if that's what I was actually doing.
yeah, the fight scenes once the show gets moving and whenever we get to the action set pieces, so unique. I mean, the camera angles that we're getting, the motion, the colors. There's so much to look at here.
For sure.
There's moments where she's doing her psychic abilities and it feels like you're seeing a Mob Psycho moment. And then there's other moments where, they're fighting the big sumo guy and you're just in awe of like the physically how they're being whipped around within their space around them. There's so much meat on the bones as far as the animation's concerned on the series.
No, yeah, and like this is we haven't even gotten him to like fully have a full fight in that same mode. So I'm sure it's only going to get more insane, especially as I'm sure the the enemies, the opponents uh, get stronger as well.
Yeah, I will say we're 3 episodes in, and I don't have an idea of where the show's going at all.
No idea.
Like, pretty most of the time, by the time you get to episode 3, you have an idea of what kind of show you're dealing with and like what the narrative's going to be. Or if you don't, then it's like a mystery, and you're setting up like things to figure out. But at this point, there's not really a mystery. We have like directly one threat in front of us, which is Turbo Granny. But beyond that, we really don't have an idea of like what the scope or scale of the series is going to be.
Yeah, especially because like yeah, like that it I would imagine they're gonna beat Turbo Granny. He's gonna get full control, or something akin to that. But yeah, they're like, what else after that? Like we get random alien invasions. Like, are we gonna be destroying all the aliens? Are we gonna be cleansing all the ghosts and spirits and stuff like that? Like I literally have no idea.
Yeah, maybe it'll be, because I have the impression that they're one of the central themes of this story is going to be like a potential romance between the two main characters. So maybe that'll be like the subplot that drives in the background as the two of them continue to create problems and then have to fix them, and then
Mm.
it'll set up mini arcs like that. That's kind of like what I'm guessing so far. But yeah, even as they've introduced the grandmother character, your favorite, it still doesn't come with like any potential idea of like what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, no, I genuinely have no idea. I'm trying hard not to get spoiled by random manga readers and comment sections. So I'm ready to be fully surprised. I don't know what to expect, and I'm excited for every episode. Which there should be one like tomorrow, no, or maybe today.
Yeah, tomorrow. That's right, tomorrow, every Thursday.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, I just revealed what day we record this. That's crazy. So let's talk about your favorite character really quick. How cool is the the power mechanic of her psychic bat and like drawing circles around her enemies system? I thought that was really cool.
No, that was cool, especially like it's not like she just made a circle. Like she just kept making it smaller and smaller and smaller. Like that's pretty sick. I feel like so many times I've seen in like animes or whatever, they can like create some sort of barrier. I'm like, why aren't you just like crushing them with it? Like, why are you just like trying to hold them there, like really constrain them? But no, she's sick, and the fact that she uses a bat, I think, is really cool as well.
It's just satisfying seeing a lady smack at somebody with a big old bat. It's
And the
great.
sound, it's like a metal
Yeah,
mallet sound, like it's,
very satisfying.
for sure. I hope to see more of her. I hope she gets to like still fight because I do want to see her just be like whacking entities with her bat or aliens or whatever, as well as the two main characters.
Yeah, the humor in the show is great. Give me your banana is always going to work for me. I'm hoping that they give some kind of context on like what banana means from the supernatural entities point of view, but uh, because I don't think it's just penis. They've used banana in multiple contexts and multiple people, so we'll see what that is. But especially when the sumo guy said it in episode two, like we didn't know if the aliens from episode one were going to be the only ones after bananas or not. And he did like a whole spiel, and at the end he goes, "Give me your bananas," and then it's like straight into the action. Uh, but I'm enjoying the energy and the humor of this show. Honestly, it's kind of firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, I just hope they keep it up. I hope it's not one of those animes where it starts off hot and then just starts declining, kind of like Uzumaki.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll stay tuned for next week for more adventures with Turbo Granny, Hot Granny, Okaroon, and Psychic Girl. I wonder why it's called Dandadan. I thought that might have been made clear at this point, but we don't know yet.
No idea. I mean, I don't know if. No, I genuinely have no fucking idea. I don't
Oh,
know.
we'll see.
I thought maybe it was like some sort of play on like a Japanese word, but I don't know.
True that. All right. Well, thank you for listening. That's going to bring this conversation to a close. What do you think about this current anime season? Drop it down in the comment section below. Would you watch a John Wick anime? Are you going to watch Tomb Raider? Gundam anime? Are you liking Blue Lock? Are you disappointed like us? And how are you feeling about either of the grannies in Dandadan? Please let us know. And thanks again for watching.
Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be posting a little bit more frequently. We got messed up with Hurricane Milton and some of our scheduling, but we should have some new stuff out soon. Bye.
Yeah.